stick in there to make it. Or wait, actually, I could just, since it's not gonna jostle. Perfect. Perfect. There we go. Well, everybody, welcome back to the closet. I didn't get screens last week. I forgot. So here we are in the closet. Also, my phone wasn't charged, so I have I've hooked it to a power bank that unfortunately was also not at full power. So this one might be a little bit shorter, not because I don't like hotboxing this time, but because the phone's battery dies because the power bank died. We'll see how far we get though, But it's been a week. It's just been another week, I got fucked over the course of the 2 days on the weekend that I worked because for some reason my boss thought it was a good idea to not schedule anyone to work on a product launch weekend and also one of those like bullshit fake holidays. So that's cool and good. We love that. Also, I realized it's the end of May, and I got stuff to do. So I have bequeathed my Martinsville boys to to send me feet pics, so that way I can gather the necessary materials that I need for some chicanery. It will be quite good. What else? Oh yeah, my mom got back from her butthole vacation, which was completely useless to me because I don't live there anymore. I even told her that when she said, "Oh hey, I'm gonna go on vacation in this amount of time," and I went, "That mother, that's useless to me. I don't live here anymore." Oh hell, the straw paper got wet. Also, I put the trash can outside. Shit. Man, I'm really just screwing up all kinds of shit today. At least for this, I still, I finally figured out the orientation thing, so that way I could actually go live faster with fewer problems. I'm just gonna sit here and peel this. So there we go. That's there's some improvement. I will hopefully finally get some screens, or the property manager's just gonna tell me put in a maintenance request to get screens. Or I guess I could just, text my mom's friend and go, "Hey, how did you get screens for your apartment?" Assuming that she did get screens. And then we'll see what happens with that. Yeah, okay. That is not as satisfying as it should be. But, yeah, there we go. I've got the next 3 days off. At least until those motherfuckers call me and beg me to come in. Because Donna and her wide butt crack have become even more crippled somehow. So, yeah, that's going to be fun and great. The overtime will be really nice, though, I promise. Oh, it'll be delicious. I almost piped, "Hello. It still hewers?" Great, thanks, Donna. It still hurts? Well, I don't imagine that it would go away in 3 hours. I don't think it would go away in 3 hours. Also, how's the echo in here? Is it unbearable? Because I hear it. Because this is a small enclosed space full of drywall. And, well, there used to be spiders in here, but I'm pretty sure we killed them all. That's fine, cool. Pretty sure we killed all the spiders, or I did, with a can of Raid. There are still cobwebs in here, though. I need to steal my mom's feather duster and then ruin it. Clean the place up a little bit. But yeah, my mom got back from her butthole vacation. Not that that mattered to me at all. Glad she had fun. I haven't had a vacation in 10 years. Wait. Hold on. I haven't had a vacation since about this time 10 years ago when I graduated high school. Because after that point, I was either in school, working, or both. Holy fuck. Jesus, no wonder I'm so angry and no wonder I'm so angry and stressed. Well, whatever. Maybe soon I'll be able to take a vacation. And by vacation, I'm just going to, lock myself somewhere and cut off all contact with everybody I know. That's my idea of a vacation. Not going to work and not talking to anybody. Yeah, that actually sounds fantastic. That actually sounds fantastic. Doing that for a month, just disappearing from everybody, just telling everybody, don't fucking bother me unless you're dead, and then disappearing somewhere so they can't find me. That would be good. That would be good. Oh yeah, Donna, since you're here, I don't know. Actually, no, never mind. I'll text you about it later. But, Yeah, but I do have the next 3 days off. And 2 of those days I'm going to be busy. It's the third day where, I don't know what I'm doing on Wednesday. Yeah, Donna, I will be texting you with another favor to ask. This time it's for some chicanery, and not for you to perform a hex that would result in my death. Wait a minute. Why didn't I ask you to just hex the store to burn it down? That would have solved the problem of both of our suffering. I'm an idiot. Next time, I guess. Or do those not work on inanimate objects? Can you hex a location? Huh. I mean, I think you'd be able to. That seems about right. I don't know. I don't know anything about witchery stuff. I'm pretty sure that the store is already cursed. We'll just curse it again, but this time curse it to get hit by lightning or something, or make it more flammable, so that way the pilot lights will, catch the upholstery and the entire place will become as ash. Because James said, not to call him even if the store was burning down, which I guess I kind of broke that rule twice tonight, but hey, whatever, I guess. I called him about the ones, and then I called him about you suddenly not being able to walk anymore. Which, how did you even get back into the house? Did you ominously levitate? Oh, this cutter's starting to get into bad shape. Also, I went over to my mom's and I got distracted after I showered. What did I get distracted doing? I don't know. Also, I rigged up the iHome. Damn near cooled. Yeah, what? Your sister didn't come out to assist, or did she just come out to observe? I could see either, but I think that the latter is more likely, honestly. All right, I better get started on this thing. Otherwise, we're gonna, it's gonna be like the 20-minute mark by the time we start. By the time we light this bad bitch up. She can't hold my weight. Well, okay, yeah, but you have at least one good leg that could take part of the burden, and you had a cane, which could take another part of the burden. And so therefore, your sister would not have to bear your entire weight. Also, she could, rouse your not real dad to also assist in bringing you into the house and then, throwing you onto a couch or something. There we go. There's a bunch of condensation all over the table. Also, I need to wipe this table off. It's covered in little cinders from the citronella oil. Let's see. She can't lift any more than 20. Fuck. Okay. Well, then I don't know. She could have roused your not real dad. He works at a factory. He should be able to lift more than 20 pounds. I mean, fuck, you could have just waited in your car and I could have done the job. Sat in your car for 3 hours. It's like, hey Donna, here's your butthole pills. Also, the ice machine took a piss everywhere. Good luck on that. Well, you know. Oh wait, oh he sleeps heavily, doesn't he? Just like me. When I'm asleep, there are not many things that can rouse me from slumber. My phone ringing is one of them, which is, you know, kind of been can kind of be used to my detriment. Wait a minute. Oh, hold on a second. Oh, I've discovered something that I can show to Aiden later. Ooh, yes, most good. Anyway, yeah, the ice machine took a piss everywhere, and I shoved the sounding rod all the way down the hole, and then ripped it out like it was a fucking Beyblade, and managed to dislodge some fungus and also drain the tray. I then poured some peroxide down. I then poured some peroxide down the hole in an attempt to kill the fungus. We'll see if that works. I mean, you saw my message. You saw my message in the chat. It's like, hey, by the way, guys, if the lobby's or if the drive-through area is flooded, and it's not because I didn't clean it up. It's because the ice machine took another piss. Also, we'll see if the store has closers tonight, or you know, because Miss Fucker probably isn't going to call me unless nobody else is going to close, in which case I may or may not begrudgingly accept, because the overtime is delicious and it's Monday, so it's probably not going to be that bad. Oh god, this one's gonna be difficult. Oh wait, it's gonna be difficult because it's too densely packed right at the tip. Awesome. Oh hell. I am gonna get a phone call today. Neato. I am gonna get a phone call today. This is gonna be fun. She's gonna be so mad. She's gonna be so mad that she has to call me. That's gonna be so funny. That's gonna be so funny. But, you know, I won't go in right at 9 because I do have other things that I'd like to do on my day off. But we'll see. We'll see. I might just try to like force her. She can't. If she closes, then she'd either have to leave and come back, or just stay and work from 7 to fucking 4. That's a 21-hour shift. Actually, it would be 6 to 4 for a 22-hour. It'd be 6 to 5 for a 23-hour shift. Oh. Oh. I only vaguely thought about some things like that at Domino's. Holy fuck. Still, that could be quite funny. You know, I saw that she was asking for somebody to come in and help open, and you know, my disappointment is palpable. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I do sense that James is going to get a phone call and get yelled at later, because apparently he was supposed to bring change, and you know, didn't, as evidenced by the fact that we are out of ones. So, yeah, he's gonna get a phone call and get yelled at. But we'll see. We'll see how long it takes them to call me. That overtime. Donna, did we have double time? Would I be able to get away with that if we did? Because working 2 additional shifts, that could be quite something. Also, wait, is overtime is untaxed now, isn't it? At least by the feds, right? I don't know. Okay. Oh shit. I'm pretty sure overtime and tips aren't taxed by the feds anymore, but the state still does. That could be quite tasty. That could be quite tasty. I could see overtime not being taxed anymore because it's easy to track because it's in a box on the W-2 and it shows up on my pay stubs. Yeah, feds don't tax, but yeah, see, yeah, I know the state still taxes shit because I had to fucking pay the state because of all the huge gains that I made in tips in fucking Martinsville, especially those last like 3 weeks. The state basically just went pay up. I should have just not paid. That would have been. I should have just not paid and then gone to prison for tax evasion. Because then all my problems would just go away. It's like, oh yeah, I'm in prison, so my bills and my problems don't matter anymore because I now have prison problems. Huh. But anyway, enough about work. I'm tired of it. Although I do have to get ready for that. I do have to be ready for that interview tomorrow, which means that I need to find my copy. In order to do the interview, I need to 1, locate my waistcoat, and number 2, find my copy of the Ars Goetia, so that way I can figure out which tie I need to wear. Don't drop the soap. Can't wait until the prison stream, yeah. Don't drop the... Susie didn't really say much. It was Devin who asked about you leaving 20 minutes after you did. And I think he was just asking as a formality. So, it was whatever. We managed to get things cleaned up, and then the ice machine took a piss. And yes, Wezzy, the prison streams will be quite good. However, it will be difficult. I'm going to just have to I'm going to have to trade coffee for cigarettes and then somehow roll the cigarettes into a big, long, mega cigarette and then pretend it's a cigar. But the prison streams will be quite good. I'll be able to introduce you to my bunkmate who, may also have a mega cigarette as well. Actually, wait a minute. I could probably get by in prison by making mega cigarettes. That could be my prison job. I make mega cigarettes and murder people. Yep. I dug through my clothes at my mom's place and I finally found another pair of white socks. I thought they were all gone. Unbeknownst to anybody, I've been violating the Taco Bell dress code by wearing black socks with my boots. But I finally found another pair of white socks. This is going to be great. I'm not going to be so hot in there. Anyway, enough about work. Right. So I need to find the waistcoat. What am I interviewing for? Marketing. I'm going to sell shit to people because it seems to be more. That seems to be more palatable to me than food service. Also, Indeed thought it was a good idea, so fucking sure I'll try it. After I got the algorithm to understand that I don't want to work in food service, it just went, okay, how about sales? And I went, just looking at all the new listings it gave me, I went, no, fuck it, I can do sales. It's still customer service, but it's not the same customer service. You know, it's not like it's not like I have to deal with. I mean, I'm still gonna have to deal with like fat people, but I'm not gonna have to deal with them in the same way. So it'll be fine. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. But I need to find my waistcoat and I need to find my copy of the Ars Goetia so I can figure out which tie to wear and so I can dress properly for the interview as outlined by the email that I got about the interview. Also, this is just a first round interview according to the email. So there's going to be, it's basically just one person interviewing multiple people. So one hiring manager interviewing multiple potential candidates, and then if I move to the second round, the interview will be one-on-one. So that'll be neato. You get what? Wait a minute. Oh, shit. Ah! Cat shirt and that one. Wait, are you talking about the white girl amulet? I am not going to wear the cat shirt and the white girl amulet during the interview. I need to be dressed professionally, as I will be going into a more professional profession. So, I didn't get the angle right. So yes, I'm going to be wearing roughly the same attire that I wore back when, I worked as a therapy. So that'll be cool. I need to remember how to tie a tie. Fuck. Okay, hold on. I can remember this because I know you keep the one part pinched the entire time. And then I'd have to do it. I'd have to go get a tie off the hanger and check it. I know it's not not the weekend. I'm gonna try and figure out which one it is just based on my memory. So it's not Saturday, which means the black tie is a no. And it's not Sunday, which means that let's see, I wore the red one, I wore the blue one, I wore the white one, and I wore the yellow one. So it's not the green one and it's not the black one. Think of your college presentation get up. I didn't have the white girl amulet. I had something else. I don't remember. But I don't remember which necklace you are referring to. Also, I pinched my eyes too hard and now I can barely read the chat when it pops up. Most good. Most great. Also, Wezzy, you should be in school. Oh wait, no, it's the end of May. School's getting close to over. Never mind, Wezzy. You put me on the projector. Let me talk to the kids. I can be an inspiration for a generation. I forgot. I forgot that this is one of the bullshit fake holidays that schools actually acknowledge. Do banks acknowledge Memorial Day? Well, I know see, I could. What time is it right now? Okay, I cannot see the time apparently. That's great. Yes, okay. Cool. That means Aiden is also off work and could show up at any time after 7:30. Although I imagine what actually happened was that because he does not have to go to work today, he probably drank quite heavily. Thank you, Donna. He probably drank quite heavily yesterday and thus will be sleeping in today. Which, speaking of Aiden drinking, man, him drunk is a, is an interesting change of pace. My skin is disintegrating again. Him drunk is an interesting change of pace because all the bitterness melts away, all of it. He is not. There is no bitterness to him at all once he has reached a certain level of inebriation. The way that he converses changes ever so slightly, but the general flow of conversation. I like employment too much to put you on the projector. Wezzy, there will be no consequences to putting me on the projector if nobody snitches. All right, we can teach valuable lessons to these children, like don't snitch and other important lessons for life. Also good for you for liking employment. I do not. It gets in the way of my hobbies. Being employed gets in the way of my hobbies. Unfortunately, I do not have the requisite $2 million to, go on a 30-year odium. But, I'll get it one day, probably by the time it's time to retire. Yeah, that is not as satisfying as it should be. I got the mix wrong again. I mean, I guess that's what I get. That's a medium cup. Of course I'd screw it up. Whatever. We're almost halfway through the year. And, it's been a little rough, but it hasn't been nearly as rough as last year was. I'm working less. I'm working less, but yet I'm working less. I'm making less money, but I'm more financially stable. Obviously I've kind of, I hit a couple of rough patches, but, it's odd. It's odd how that works out. Also, I need to go to Martinsville. The boys are in need of their father figure once again, and I guess they picked me, so I guess I gotta show back up. I gotta buy more milk if I'm gonna do that. I've once again returned with milk and cigarillos. Boys, I am at the store. I've ordered a pasta, and I've ordered the pasta under the name Tichondrius Washington yet again, because I'm a fucker. Now that I think about it, I probably really don't know as many of the guys who work there as I used to, which is unfortunate. But I still, most of the boys still work there. Okay, that's not true. Now that I think about it, only about half of the boys that I trained and hired still work there. Ooh. I wonder if I could locate. Wait, no, he probably still lives at his parents' place, and I still know where that is. Show up to one of the boys' houses, just like knock on the door and yell. That could be fun. That could be quite fun. That could be quite good. A little escapade to the Martin. I still know my way around. And I could stop at the cigar bar. Yes, that could be quite good. Not today, obviously, because I have other things to tend to today. But also the air conditioner isn't on, so I'm going to open this door a little bit to ventilate out the cloud because it's looking a little hazy on the screen. I don't know if that's actually true or not. I thought that it was too densely packed around the beginning, and thus I'd be able to smoke it down and have an easier time. It has not gotten easier. Oh well. Basically, this will be good training for taking slower draws because I think taking slower draws is the key to a good burn. I think. Huh? Shit. There's the AC going off again. So door shut once again. I felt that breath of fresh air rush in. Wait a minute. Okay, hold on. I was onto something just now. Hold on. I'm gonna have to do an experiment. I'm gonna have to enlist Aiden to do an experiment. That experiment being take slower, take slower draws off of the smoke. Also, hold on, I got a sinus clogged. Yep, okay, that nostril's just gonna be clogged today, I guess. But I'm gonna have to convince Aiden to take slower draws. He can take frequent draws as he pleases, but I should convince him to draw slower because he frequently has burn issues, and I think that might remedy it. Oh yeah. Also talking about Aiden, yeah, no, he is being driven insane by his friends, and it would be funny if it just wasn't if it was somebody not in immediate proximity to me, both physically and in terms of like you know the fact that he's my nephew. You know, it's not good to watch family members suffer unless they deserve it. However, he does not deserve it. Also, that one little piece of my finger is still there. I didn't yank it off. There we go. Yeah, he's being driven insane, mostly because his friends seem to have separation anxiety. Since they've all moved away from each other geographically. It seems that the fraying of the friendship has now been replaced with separation anxiety, which again would be hilarious if number one, he deserved it, or alternatively number two, he was not somebody that I was particularly close to. And they don't pester me. They don't pester me at all. They they don't seem to like interacting with me on a one-on-one basis, or even if we are generally in the same physical room or in a voice chat together. They interact with me because it would be kind of awkward if they didn't. But if they could get away with it, they would not. And I find this to be quite funny, albeit sometimes it is a little bit frustrating on account of the fact that if they pestered me more, they would be pestering Aiden less. And so, you know, just to spare him some of the brunt of that. But also, I am somebody who has decently strong boundaries, and so they're not going to be able to crack through that and kind of yank me into their nonsense like they yank Aiden into their nonsense. So Wesley, here's what happens, right? So I'm gonna recount to you something that has actually happened, something that I witnessed for myself. Okay, so I want to say about 2 weeks ago. Okay, Aiden, it was 5:30 in the afternoon. Okay, Aiden had just gotten back to the apartment from work. Okay, and he came up the stairs and he went and he sat down in the recliner. As soon as he did this, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, as soon as he did that, his phone, dinged with a notification. That notification was one of the boys messaging him, pestering him to play Baldur's Gate 3 with them. As soon as the man sat down, they were on his ass to play. And as for the frequency, yeah, it's like 4 times a week. Now I can get away with, stretching the limits of my social battery just because, I've learned how to do that. Most of my batteries are so beyond dead, I don't think any amount of rest would actually restore them. However, once Aiden's social battery dies, which it does pretty quickly, he just gets in, he just experiences, anger outside of the social situation, and even within, at this point he's starting to express his anger, or general displeasure within the social situation. And so, and then I hear about it. There was one time I came out here to the closet and, sat down on the stool while he was in this chair, and I looked at him and went, "Man, you look really unhappy." And then, I got a recounting of some things that happened, and yeah, he was, I was spot on with that. I was spot on with that obvious observation, Also, I need to buy another stool now that I think about it, because it seems like this one has just been relegated to out here. He could say no, yes, and I have been encouraging him to put his foot down and establish boundaries. And I will continue to do so, because the part of any relationship, be it a friendship or otherwise, is the establishment of boundaries. And, any kind of failing of that establishment is going to cause strain on the relationship. So, I have been encouraging him to set boundaries. And, well, I think I've been making progress, just because I've basically just been repeating the same thing, put your foot down, set boundaries. And he hasn't been doing it, but he's also been getting more and more, agitated with them about, the frequency of gaming. So we'll see if he eventually just, does put his foot down and establish the necessary boundaries. Once that air conditioner turns off, I will be opening the door again, because I can taste how hazy it is in here. I can't exactly see it on the camera this time. Okay, that is not a spot on my phone screen, it's a spot on the wall. Yeah, okay. I think I might have to redo some of the drywall in here, because some of it has been a little damaged, but it's light work. That, I know how to do drywall, so just do a little bit of drywall in here. Also, I might see if I can paint here, because this inconsistent paint job is a little bit odd, a little bit off-putting, one might say. Yeah. I did not get the mix right on that. Damn medium cups. Yeah, since I have the next 3 days off and don't really have any, don't have too much to do today, I could just, fuck up my sleep schedule again. I could fuck up my sleep schedule again. Him blowing up if this continues. He's also not a fan of that game. Yes, I know. However, I agree with both of those points. However, the difference here is, when it comes to the blow up, it's either going to be a hand grenade or a nuclear bomb. And what will determine which one of those it ends up being is how long it takes for it to happen. The longer it takes, the bigger it's going to be. Which is why I will continue to say, put your foot down, set boundaries. But we'll see. Yeah, basically, it's either going to be, it's going to cause damage. I mean, the explosion is going to cause damage either way, but when it comes to the difference in damage between a hand grenade and a nuclear detonation, it's obvious. Although I imagine that even if he does go nuclear, the friendship will remain. It will remain. It will be, intact is, a bit generous, methinks, but I could be entirely wrong about that. I am not as familiar with these boys as he is. I haven't known them nearly as long. But that's just how that's just what's going on. It's like I've been saying with more and more frequency, my soap opera has gone sour, and I don't like it anymore. Which is most unsatisfying. But then again, I knew my soap opera was going to change form. Once people and things got moved around. I miss the Indonesian soap operas I was watching, but they're no longer airing. It was my guilty pleasure thing that I watched, and I miss it. But I guess all things must end eventually. Maybe I should find some new soap operas to watch. I should find new foreign soap operas to partake of for fun. Just to kind of pass the time. It's not going to be background noise while I'm grinding. I have other videos for that. Oh, there we go. I think the nostril's almost unclogged. Most good. The Young and the Restless. Ooh, I could do that. I'll tell you what though, one soap opera I will not partake of is Days of Our Lives. I can't stand Days of Our Lives. Ugh. Days of Our Lives has the problem where my dad watches that daily, oh my god. But I won't watch Days of Our Lives because Days of Our Lives has a problem where it seems like there are too many plot lines happening in each episode. And I think I've said this before. And so during an episode, there are so many cuts to these different plot lines with different characters that throughout the entire episode, basically nothing happens because none of the plot lines are focused on long enough for any kind of real advancement to occur. You probably have to watch. You probably have to watch at least a dozen episodes in order to say, oh hey, yeah, these things happened across these plot lines, and I'm not willing to do that because that sucks. It just seems like a bad writing. But then again, it is a soap opera, so it is kind of just bad by default. Never watched a soap. If it's written well, then it can be a good time. I do enjoy me some dramedy if it's well written, but Days of Our Lives is not well written, or at least it's not well structured. I remember when my mom used to watch Days of Our Lives. It sucked. And then I stumbled upon it years ago when I was at my dad's looking after his house. That was the time that he caught me watching Seinfeld, and you know, I had to defend that, oddly enough. Also, the air conditioner just shut off. Alright, we're gonna open this. I had to defend watching Seinfeld because, I didn't want to navigate the channels, so I just basically looked at nearby channels. Watch telenovela. Ooh, that's not a bad idea. I could watch some telenovela and have a good time with that. I might look into that if I remember later. I do have things that I should do before I go to bed this morning, but maybe not. Maybe not immediately. The drama is epic. Yeah. Okay. All right. I might look at some telenovela just so I have some trash TV to watch at random points when I don't want to watch anime. I might just Google popular telenovela and then just kind of go from there. Because the more popular it is, the worse it's probably going to be. Because that's just how popular things seem to have been for the last, while. Several years. Maybe even several decades. I thought Seinfeld was more of a sitcom. Yeah, well, see, that's the thing is I was at my dad's place. Well, I was at my dad's place, and on the day that he came back, about an hour or two before he, actually got back to the house, I was looking through the channels, right? And I just, I was looking for something that I could recognize or something that sounded good. And then I just spotted Seinfeld and went, fuck it, I'm going to watch Seinfeld. So I ended up watching 2 or 3 episodes of Seinfeld. And, my dad, showed back up at his house and questioned me for watching Seinfeld. Yeah, I went, yeah, I know what Seinfeld is. I can get behind watching Seinfeld. And it was just an odd situation, especially for him, because for most of my life, he has known that I don't really watch TV, and so he was probably surprised to come back to his house after his vacation to not only find me watching TV, but also just watching Seinfeld. Yeah, it was an odd thing. It was an odd occurrence. At least for him, I was just bored and just went, whatever. Seinfeld it is. I think the haze is definitely clearing out of here. I can see it. I can feel it. And most importantly, I can smell the difference. That fresh air is coming in. Most good. Most good. I mean, some sitcoms can be all right. Again, it's the writing. It has to be well written. Seinfeld is, like I said, Seinfeld is just fine. It was just something that I spotted. my grandma used to watch a lot of those like Alaskan gold miner shows that are, you know, it's reality TV. She liked to watch that. And occasionally I'd watch, I'd catch an episode of that or two, parts of episodes, with her. Mostly I just watched the murder shows with Grandma, just because, that was also something that she liked to watch. And, if I didn't want to sit on the PS2 all night, I just, I'd watch murder shows with Grandma. It was great, you know. And then if it was during the day, we'd watch like game shows or something. See if we could, The Price is Right, Jeopardy, that kind of stuff. See if we could actually, we played along. We played along a little bit from time to time, and it was a good time. I remember Who Wants to Be a Millionaire back when Regis was the host. We watched a lot of that. It was a good time, you know. See, there have been podcasts that have come across my feed, but I don't know. It's just none of them have seemed particularly interesting to me because I mean, I see something, and if I see it enough times, the curiosity will build up enough to where I'll click on it. But none of the podcasts that have come across my feed have really been for me, I guess. I'm pretty sure this would be like a podcast if I had other people, to uh guest star and bounce off of, and the power bank has died. Ooh. All right, how long do we have? Can I swipe on this? And all right, we're at 76. So we're at 76% on the phone. So we'll see how long that ends up lasting. Pretty sure I did something like this back when I was streaming in the car in Martin. However now it's day. However now this time I have a light, so you're not just seeing my dark silhouette with me, lighting up the entire place with a match on occasion. And also I'm not drinking mold this time by accident. Speaking of drinking mold, I forgot to snag the pitcher of tea from my mom's place while I was over there. Piss. I've also completely forgotten to take the empty pitcher back over there. Piss. Oh well, I still have the rest of the day to do that. Also, I need to stop stepping on my slippers. I'm getting ash all over them. Because there's not terribly much ash all over the floor in here, but there is ash on the floor in here. Just because sometimes cherries fall off and don't get into the ashtray. Also, the ashtray is really, really full right now. Because this ashtray that I'm using, the Cerrito ashtray, is not equipped for Aiden's smoking. I need to bring the Gurkha ashtray over here because it's much deeper. It's much deeper so it can keep up for at least a little bit longer. I might take the Gurkha ashtray over to his mom's place where he's being confined. Just because the ashtray that was in the garage was a little bit full the other day when I was over there. Also, we're gonna have a work session. We're gonna have a work session over at his mom's place. We're gonna pick something to work on, and we're gonna work on it, which is gonna be fine. But on the back burner, I have been just filled with campaign ideas, and I have been working on those as I feel inspired. And the issue has now become There are too many campaigns that are now basically ready to go. But I don't want to run multiple campaigns at once because that seems like it would be kind of it seems like that would be kind of excessive. And so the solution that I have come up with to mitigate this, to basically pick the next one after Sin, is I'm just going to present a number of options to the boys, and the boys will vote on the next campaign. Because let's see, Sin is the next one, Sin Reborn, and then after that, really there are a lot of different other storylines that we could, get onto. Most unfortunate. It's a at this point it's like a too many ideas, kind of thing. Too many things are ready to go. I am hyped for too many campaigns right now, and the desire to run is strong. I mean, the desire to play is also still pretty strong, but my desire to, now that I'm playing, the desire to run, since I'm not doing that, is starting to build again. Multi-round voting, there's not a big majority winner. Yeah, you're right. We might have to do like 2 rounds of voting, where it's like, okay, here are, say for example, 4 options, and then the votes are split, between 2 of the options. It'll be, then we go into round 2 where it's like, okay, boys, here are 2 options, take your pick, and then, majority decides. Obviously for each one I'll be, giving a little snippet, a little synopsis, so that way the voting isn't completely blind. Obviously I'm not going to give away the whole plot, because that's not a good thing to do. That, and the plot is never really finalized until everything is over, because I do leave room for improvisation, which helps prevent derailing. So there is that. But yeah, we gotta, because let's see. Right now, what's ready to go, other than Sin Reborn, is the Agarthan's Legacy, the 3 out of the 4 Rune Invasions, the Azazel campaign, the Journey to the North rerun. I guess technically a handful of not a handful, but 2 grands are technically good enough, ready to go. And the Shepherd campaign, part 1 of the Shepherd campaign is ready to go, with part 2, the first act of part 2 for that one is ready to go. So there's a lot of multi-part stories that are ready to go, while the more one-off stories aren't quite there. That, and Aiden just, Aiden will say stuff to me, and then I'll get another idea. The other day we were talking about Dragon Quest, and he said something to me about how one of the titles of a Dragon Quest game could inspire a campaign, and then when he said that, he saw a look on my face where he saw the gears moving, and he pointed that out, and I was like, yeah, you fucker. I did come up with an idea. So, I guess I'll just keep working on camp. I guess, in the interim, when I'm not actually doing mechanical work, I will be, putting digital pen to digital paper and working on campaign ideas. Wait a minute, Golden Rapturous Awakening is also basically ready. Which title? Hand of the Heavenly Bride. Yeah, Aiden was like, oh yeah, wait, is Heavenly Bride Dragon Quest 6? Or is... Wait, hold on, Hand of the Heavenly Bride is Nimzo, so that one's Dragon Quest 5. Right? Hold on. Yeah, because it's Pizarro, Nimzo, Mortomer. So yeah, it's Dragon Quest 5. He rattled off the title of Dragon Quest V and said, "Oh, that sounds like it could be a cool campaign." And then, my mind started to work, and he saw that, and I'm like, "Okay, all right." So, there may or may not be a campaign based only on the title of Dragon Quest V. In my head, floating about, gathering debris to actually become something. So we'll see what that eventually becomes. Actually, now that I think about it, hold on, let me think about it. There is, wait a minute. Also, well, Wezzy, isn't that a question for you? How long do you want to keep going? How long is it going to take for you to tell the story that you want to tell? Roughly, of course. How long is it going to take to finish the story that you're telling? Obviously, just like roughly, where are I guess the question is, and you can be as vague as you want about this, is where are we in the story that you want to tell? Are we halfway? Are we a quarter? And then from there, that should kind of help us figure out how much longer this is going to go. Is this oh, there we go, that nostril finally cleared. Oh yeah, baby. But yeah, that's the question for you, Wezzy, because you are the DM. You are the showrunner, not me. I am merely an actor in the story. I'm not the writer, Then again, I guess Aiden kind of co-wrote this one with you. I guess Aiden provided the foundation, and then you're in the process of constructing something atop that foundation, as it were, So that's a question for you, Lizzie. We don't have, which I should say this. We don't have to go to 20. That's not a hard requirement. Obviously. We don't have to go to 20. We can, depending on, when the story is finished and all this and that. Wouldn't say I'm telling a story, but that may be semantics. In what way? Okay, actually, hold on. What has led you to come to that conclusion? Because you are the DM, you're the one who sets up the stuff for us to act on. You are the one who has the ultimate control of the plot at the end of the day. So what makes you say, you're not telling a story, as it were? Also, can I just keep the chat up? Okay, I would switch it to live, and is it going to stay? Okay, no, I think if I want it to stay, I would just have to touch the phone constantly, And I am not going to lean forward to do that. I think I just got ash in my sleeve. Okay, no I didn't, thank God. That would have been not good. I only just rub ash on my skin as if I'm not already dealing with like disintegration issues. And again, not so much now that I'm not doing dishes all the time. Not that I'm complaining about doing dishes all the time, I would kill to be back at that sink. So, okay, I understand what you're saying when you say that, but if you think about it, so here let's use something. Let's use some common ground that we're both aware of. Like, let's use, and it's funny that I'm bringing this up yet again, is the year of disaster. YOD. You know, YOD. There were, I set up the plot because I was the DM. I set up the plot, and you guys were the actors in that plot. And as the DM, I had the ultimate control of the story. But I didn't exercise that ultimate control because, because it's not that, playing a tabletop game is not like being the director of a play. They're similar, but, the difference between being a director of a play is when you're directing, you're basically holding the actors to the script. When you're playing a tabletop game, you, the DM, as the director, you're basically just there to make sure that things don't, just completely shoot off course. That you basically kind of tenuously hold the party to the script, but only when, only if they, kind of get distracted and get lost in the sauce, right? So, I'm sure that made a variable amount of sense. But the idea is, you are the one who is, you're the showrunner, and there is a plot that the party is being held to, but they're also afforded a great deal of freedom in order to within that plot, as it were. A good DM knows when they need to exercise Rule 0, and when to just kind of let the players kind of just go. Typically, the way that the story is presented, an exercise of that will be largely unnecessary, except for maybe, during certain, mechanical situations, obviously. A bad DM will railroad his players, which, is what it is. That's just, there's endless horror stories about such things. A bad DM will railroad almost constantly when the players aren't, playing the way he wants. They are doing the story right. But a good DM knows how to tell the story. Oh, here we go. Oh, hold on, I didn't quite catch that. Yeah. Where we want to put the guardrails. See, that's the thing, though, is doing so in this context can be rather troublesome because Aiden and I are kind of strong-willed, and we can get into the role play, which means that the motivations that are presented within the story that's being told, because we're into the role play, the motivations in the story are enough to allow us to to act on the stage, as it were, in a way that does not necessitate you exercising your ultimate authority. And the rest of the boys kind of just follow along with little to no fuss, because just because I'm not gonna try and sit here and like stumble through the elucidation. You know what I'm talking about. Um, when it comes to setting up these kinds of things, you as the DM, you kind of, when it comes to the plot, you have a rough idea. You have a rough idea, and I need to emphasize that. I need to emphasize that you have a rough idea of the plot. Hot One Live, yes you did. Racially impure John has joined the chat. But anyway, so as the DM, you are roughly, and I emphasize that, roughly are aware of what the plot of the story is. And the rest of the finer details, as it were, are... Shit. Okay, hold on, I'll be right back. Uh-oh, how do I do this? Okay, am I back? Alright, cool. Anyway, I just got a phone call. More overtime, which I imagine will dissatisfy Aiden greatly, but most unfortunate. Ooh. Well, I'm only going to be working like 6 hours. It's fine. Another 6 hours of overtime. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. There's three ability their way role playing wise. Sometimes they bite. See, that's the thing. Is when it comes to the boys, we're dealing with people who are generally inexperienced with the role play, and they're also not the best at making characters, right? To these boys, largely speaking, they're mostly just to the boys, these characters that they made aren't actually characters. They're just bundles of mechanics that they utilize in combat or when roles are necessary. Um, so, uh, uh, once they figure out how to make characters, then the role play is going to greatly improve. But for now, we just kind of, they're figuring it out. They're figuring it out. They're doing better than they have in the past. And I think it's because they're kind of subconsciously taking cues from the more experienced members of the group with this kind of thing. It would have been really funny. It would have been really funny if they got to play back in the day, back when I was playing Horde of the Dragon Queen at the shop here in town, because I think that would have helped a lot. Because the DM I had then was quite good. He was quite good, and so I think he would have provided an environment that would have allowed for a lot of growth. That, which kind of brings me to another point, another little revelation that I've just had, is when it comes to the force of personality that is utilized by those of us who are more experienced. I think that at a certain point, there'll need to be a little bit of stepping back of that, so as to allow some more of some more of center stage, as it were, to be taken up by the boys, so that we can really see the progress that they've made in becoming better role players, if any of that makes sense. It makes sense in my head, and it's been yeah, I went to work. It's been a bit of a day. Um, we're kind of, I'm gonna go to bed eventually. But I think I think what's going to end up happening is I think Sin Reborn is going to do a lot of good things for role play. Um, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see. Yeah, exactly. Right. Sorry, I'm going to buy you a big cheesecake. It's fine. Uh, you know, my finger slipped on the last one. Wesley. But anyway, what I was saying was, I think Sin Reborn is going to do a lot of good work, and the reason why is because I am requiring, like, a certain level of established backstory. So for the purposes of the narrative, it's required. However, a secondary purpose of this, which I didn't realize was going to be happening until after the fact, is that by getting them by basically. Okay, I thought I had another burp. Anyway, by forcing them this one time to have an established backstory, of a sufficient established backstory to for part of the narrative. I think that will help them kind of figure out, this is who this character is, as opposed to, um, just them continuing to treat their characters as if they are bundles of mechanics. I mean, realistically, that is what a character is, a bundle of mechanics. However, the role play is what makes the character a character. And this is where, that part is where they're struggling. But by forcing them to have established backstory, they're going to kind of, you know, they're going to kind of, get into the head of the character that they're making, and therefore, kind of be better at acting out the part, which we will see the results of doing that during Sin, but then we'll really see the results of doing that after Sin for the next campaign when they have to make another character to play as. We'll see what's changed when the requirement of backstory is lifted and has gone back to something that is, where the level of detail is, pretty much optional. You know. Yeah, opening the door on and off has been good because it's helping ventilate here. But yeah, but what there at during Sin, obviously there's going to be a hook with something on there, thrown out, and I think as that story progresses, we'll see more bites, and then once we go to another campaign after that, I think there will more consistently be more biting onto those hooks, as it were. Um, you know. So it's at this point it's going to be a little bit before we see the results of this, but I think once we're in a position where we can look back and do some comparing and contrasting, we'll see a lot of improvement, I think, which again, it's going to be a while because Sin is going to take its time, and the campaign afterwards is also going to take its time. So we'll reconvene. Yeah, that's Aiden and I have discussed the exact same thing. They do have potential. We just need to, we just basically need to kind of nudge them into actualizing it, as opposed to, just kind of passively waiting for it to happen. And that's what Sin is. I mean, I guess Sin is a little bit more than a nudge. It's it's more of a push, a shove, even one might say. But I think it's a necessary shove towards the actualization of that potential. And we won't see the results of that shove for a little bit. We'll reconvene in about a year, and by that point we should be able to do some comparing and contrasting to see, okay, all right, are they still doing the bundle of mechanics things, or do we have actual characters on our hands? And we'll kind of go from there. Because Aiden, or Wezzy, you, me, and Aiden cannot forever be the forces of forward progress behind the party when we are the ones playing. Of course, as the DM, you are a constant source of gentle forward progress, or maybe even rapid, depending on how things play out. But as the player, we might eventually see one of the other guys take charge and actually be, quote unquote, the leader, as it were. As opposed to, as opposed to Aiden doing it all the time, as he frequently laments to me about. So, it's going to take a while. It's going to take a little bit of time, and but until then, we just keep going. We just keep going, and have some fun along the way, I suppose. Oh man, I gotta work today. Oh, I just need to think about the overtime. Yeah. See, Aiden is having that problem. Aiden is having that problem consistently, where he's feeling like he's the guy, and he doesn't really want to be the guy, He doesn't want to put it back into play terms. He does not want to always be the lead actor. He wants to take a supporting role in the story, as it were. Almost drooled. Ugh. So, yeah, Sin, I think, is going to go a long way towards alleviating that for Aiden. We'll see, though. We will see, because we're gonna see if these boys can write. We're gonna see if these boys can write characters, and then from there we'll see if they can play characters. Oh. Let's see, he does tend to play characters who have a bit of a my way or the highway attitude. Yeah, but see, the thing is, right, is, sometimes when he's playing one of those characters, it kind of fits, and there's enough going on to where it doesn't detract from what the other characters are doing. Let's look at YOD, he did his whole, high marshal thing, and that didn't really force the rest of you into a position of going along with it, at least entirely according to what he was doing. Obviously there were ways that you guys, worked alongside him, but you had your own stuff going on. And I realize YOD is a bad example of this because that campaign was huge, but basically the idea is, his my way or the highway attitude. He really only wants it to be contained to himself, and if anybody wants to join with him to accomplish whatever goal that he's accomplishing, of course they're going to be subjected to that. And in this case, for the campaign we're currently running, he's doing it because the role play for the other boys is so weak, they don't really have strong motivations or strong personalities. So he's kind of pulling them along. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of kind of awkward silence whenever it's like, okay, what are you guys doing? When things kind of open up like that, So I think as the boys get better at being characters, Aiden will of course kind of take a step back and do his own thing, and the other boys will be able to do their own thing, and we'll see if they succeed. There's parts of that are dependent upon die rolls, and there's other parts of it that are just dependent on them, taking the initiative, and actually doing it, And so, again, once again, we'll see if Sin ends up being a good shove into getting that result, or if it ends up being kind of a fluke just because the requirement was thrust upon them. But again, we'll reconvene in a year to discuss it. Hell, maybe even before then, because we might be able to see some good results right away, and that would be quite pleasant. That would be quite good. So, yeah. They did right on my crotch. What the hell? But yeah, no, I am greatly anticipating what happens in Sin, and I am also quite hyped for the numerous other things that I've been working on in the background, kind of just letting things float about in my mind and gather debris, to shape it into something. Yeah. So yeah, there's the long, role play rant that had a little bit of back and forth on it. Back and forth isn't nearly as effective when one person is speaking and one person is relegated to text, but so be it. Okay. Sure, bread man. Wait a minute. Yeah, sure, bread man. What's on your mind? What's on your mind, bread man? If you're who I think you are, then I think you'll have some. I think what you have to say could be quite interesting. If not, I mean, okay, a good point. Yeah, hold on. So, often enough or long enough? Okay, you make a good point. at present, whatever the main objective is. Okay, okay, I see. Yes, you have a point. You have a point. And yeah, I think you're right. The availability of non-main objective things have been a little bit lacking, and also the frequency and length of session. Um, I think. I mean, there's obvious remedies to this, of course. Um, and I think that's going to be another thing that Sin helps out with, because it's a bigger campaign, and um, there's going to be a bit more, I guess, openness. I mean, obviously there is going to be the main story, of course. The main objective will exist, of course, but I think there will be a lot more room for 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 secondary things to be there, as it just to be there, and then from there it's just a matter of kind of taking hold of some of those secondary things and kind of running with them, to see how they pan out and whatnot. You know, that, and I was intending to run things a little bit longer for Sin. I mean, it is a longer story, but and it's going to have a few more moving parts, and so the establishment of those parts is going to take a little bit more time, and I think we will be able to uh, kind of incorporate that. Um, you know, the the primary issue right now with the questions, or the issues, I guess, of frequency and length, is scheduling. We have a number of different schedules at play, and there is therefore limited overlap for uh, game time, as it were. And I think we'll be able to run longer when it comes to Sin. Frequency, I think we'll be able to kind of really stabilize it, and actually have a consistent day and time to go. I think we just goes not a day to win. Let's see. Hold on. Let me read and parse this. Start scheduling not as daily, but when we do play, it's long sessions. Yeah. Now, I don't think we should immediately jump in to the 4+ hour, well, the 6+ hour sessions that were commonplace during YOD, because I think that jump would be a little bit too much. But I think if we go from let's say the 2-3 hour sessions to maybe 5 to 6 ish hours, we could that would definitely allow for the gears to move and whatnot. um I mean, hopefully, since I've got since I'm looking for a job that provides a better schedule, that'll at least open things up on my end, and allow for at least my availability to open up, and hopefully have better overlap with the rest of the group. Which, for Sin, since I'm going to be the DM, it's kind of critical that I have a good overlap of availability with my players. But I think that'll be I think a lot of the issues that we've been running into in accordance, in relation to frequency and length will be solved by that. Um, because I like to run weekly, at least. There was a time during YOD where we were running daily, and that was when shit got wild. We also had just the most absurdly long sessions. It's like, all right, guys, we're gonna have a break in about the about the middle of session to go get dinner. Wesy remembers we'd start at like 3 o'clock or something, and we wouldn't end until 9. 9 or 10. Shit was happening, and it would go on for a while. We take like a 30-minute or an hour break to go get dinner. Come back. It's like, all right, we've refueled, and we're good to go. We're good to go for the rest of the time. You know. So like I said, I think Sin will remedy a lot of those issues. Fuck, I'm gonna have to fish my uniform out of the laundry. Hell. Or I could just do laundry here. Yeah. It's a lot more. It's a lot more than no. Acting the part is a lot more than the actual speaking that occurs. It is, you know, you kind of you get you ha yeah. Acting is more than just the speaking part. It is more of the way that you kind of carry yourself. And length linear. Yeah. I think, like I said, I think there'll be a lot more opening up. Is my fucking skin? Yeah, my skin's disintegrating again. Uh, yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, there's some limited overlap on things, and I think there'll be ways to mitigate that somewhat. Also, now that I look at it, this plastic piece of my phone is disintegrating. I might just have to cut this off, or just rip the whole thing. Ooh, or just rip the whole thing off. Anyway, um, yeah, you know, and when it comes to sin, a lot of the decision making is going to be thrust into your hands, and the way that this is facilitated is just the easiest method that I've used thus far is Monty. Monty just is kind of, the way that he works with things is just, there'll be a number of different things at play, and it's basically just you guys saying, oh yeah, we're gonna go do this, and you know the main plot won't always advance, but it will always be there. The way, and even sometimes a secondary uh thing that you guys end up choosing to do may or may not advance the main story, at least maybe a little bit, maybe not, it depends. It kind of depends on how things pan out. But yeah, there hasn't been healthy side questing, as it were, which is which has been, now that you've pointed that out, is kind of an issue. Um, but yeah, I think Sin will let us get back into some healthy side questing, to allow for development in various areas, because the archipelago is not just one city. The archipelago is not just kind of one region where that's kind of big. Well, I guess it is a region, I suppose, but there's more to it. It's an actual like resettled place. There's there's different things going on within, as opposed, alongside the major thing that's going on. So yeah, I think sin will allow for us to return to healthy side questing, and had some side. I mean, a lot of different things that happened in YOD were side quests that ended up contributing to the main plot in different ways. Obviously, when it came to like the first act, and to an extent even the second act, actually to a great extent even the second act, there wasn't a lot of side questing. But once we got into Act 3, and things, that's when things kind of really took off. A lot of the side questing ended up playing into the main plot in different ways. That, and also there were multiple different paths to advance the main plot simultaneously, and right, yeah, no, you have a point. You have a point. You've got a point there, and yeah, there's there's not there hasn't been there hasn't been a lot of there hasn't been a lot of different ways to it. There hasn't been a lot of different paths open. There's been a lot of here is the path and go. But I think since sin is a little bit bigger, in terms of what's actually going on, there will be a lot of paths that are open where it's like, okay, these paths will advance the main quest, but there's also these side paths that kind of might loop around to connect to the main story, or they might just kind of loop back where it's like, okay, we went on this little adventure and we did this thing and got this out of it, and yada yada yada, etc., etc. Hold on, I gotta check battery. Hopefully, there we go. Okay, we're still good on battery, so I won't need to quit quite yet. Also, the chat has stayed up. Nope, the chat is disappearing. Okay, so I won't be able to see it again unless I touch the phone or somebody says something. But yeah, I think we'll be able to return to healthy side questing and multiple branching ways to move forward with that. And see, that's another thing is, depending on how things pan out, different party members might select different paths, and there will be points to where the paths kind of convene upon each other or separate from each other, but you're still all roughly all in the same place in terms of how the narrative is playing out. That being said, I guess one way to really fix what's been happening is to just jump into a grand. But I don't think any of us are ready for another multi-year adventure extravaganza. So while it is a possibility, I would not be the most encouraging to jump straight into a grand. I think sin as a 1 to 50 is kind of a good it's not a first step. It's more like it's a good leap. Some of these things in mind, it's been I mean, I've been I observed on and off for a decent part of the first portion before I just joined officially after my availability opened up to do so. So yeah, I think having some time to smell the roses, as it were, will be good. Let the main plot kind of sit on the fire a little bit and stew, and then we're not always messing with it. that'll be something that gets incorporated. That'll be something that happens in Sin, where it's like, yeah, the main plot is over there. It's doing its thing. Of course, it is going to move. It's going to move when you guys aren't acting upon it. But it's not. But that movement will be not as much as compared to when you guys are acting upon it. And that's yeah. That just kind of makes sense. If you guys are actually doing stuff to advance the main plot, it will advance. But also, if you guys are on a side quest, there is time passing in the world, and so therefore, the main plot will also advance, just not as much. You guys will keep. You guys will get stuff and get stronger. And I have so much ash on my socks. This far. We don't. Oh, hold on. We don't play enough or long enough to really get into things. Yeah. It's a fair assessment, I think. It's a fair assessment. I think this is. I think. So there's only 3 of us here. So there's really only half of the. Half of the participants. I think this is something that we can bring up. That we should bring up today. As part of the pre-session bullshitting session that always occurs. Except it'll be a little bit more focus. You have a point there. You have a point there. You have a point there, and I think it's fixable. I don't think we've reached the point where it is unfixable. I think we're each still at a point to where it is fixable. And so, I think that'll be a good thing to bring up with when everyone is present. It's like, okay, boys, me, Wezzy, and Redicus Boyus had a bit of a back and forth on stream this morning, and we discussed this, and this, thoughts, opinions, this and that, and then, actually have a discussion about it, and then kind of carry that going forward. So, yeah. So there's the tabletop RPG rant. Well, not really rant, more like discussion, because I guess I wasn't just sitting here just speaking the entire. Well, I was speaking, but I was also, we were having a conversation. And yeah, it'll be good to continue the conversation when everybody's present and we're good to go. Part of that discussion will necessitate, okay, do we need to figure out a more consistent time slot, and then we go from there. Like, okay, all right, we need to revisit everybody's schedules. I think that'll be a good thing to do, is kind of revisit everybody's schedules and go, okay, what do we got here in terms of overlapping free time, and can we utilize that for can we utilize that? And this is something that just kind of popped into my head. Is this is something that kind of just popped into my head. Is not if availability does not allow for it, then there doesn't necessarily. Because let me think. Hold on. Wasn't old. Okay, so there's 6 of us, right? And that relegates one person to be the DM and the other 5 to be players. If Okay, all right. I think that would be good. I think that would be good. And see that relates to the thing that I just thought of is depending on how availability actually pans out, you know there could be whole sessions where not everybody is present, but the ones that are present are kind of doing their thing, not moving along the main path, um, but doing their own thing. Being unsaid, changing doesn't have it okay. I feel like that's that week or the next week on Sunday. Yeah, okay. I think that could work. Wait a minute. Do I? Okay. Uh, I think. See, I work 7 to 4 next Sunday, so that could be a little rough on my end. But hopefully my schedule will be changing relatively soon to where, you know. Yeah. You're right. You're right. Yeah, I realized that. Yeah, we could have a text discussion about the whole thing, and kind of figure it out that way. My mind immediately jumped to VC just because it's the most efficient. Because that way, we don't have to like try to parse and keep up with, the different things that everybody is saying in text. But yeah, we could do that. Just have a discussion about it on Sunday, next Sunday, and figure out, okay, what are we doing here? What's the play? How do we figure this out? And then we kind of just hash it out over text and figure it out. Ooh, ash over my jacket. That's great. But yeah, I think that'll be good. I think that'll be a good thing to do. I'll be, obviously, I'll have a conversation with Aiden about what was discussed here, assuming he doesn't watch the VOD later, because obviously I am going to have to go to bed, and there will be some time where he could do that. I don't think he's going to work today, so he's got the time to watch the VOD and see what's going on, and then obviously he'll have his piece to say about it. And it's like, okay, yeah, we can, this, I think he'll definitely be on board with the, discussion of, availability and consistency and all that stuff. Uh, but yeah, it's just, we've hit a little bit of a rough spot, and we just gotta we have to talk to each other and get through it that way, as opposed to kind of just leaving things as they are and letting them not be ideal, as it were. I might have to puff this a little bit because the core is burning, but the wrap isn't burning so good. All right. Might have to go inside and grab another beverage because that one's getting a little low. God, that was a lot of spit. Oh, God. Anyway, you said something. What do we got here? Hold on. Text. Aiden has to play a character that's upbeat and kind. See, this is the part where if I was on my computer, I could pull up the triangle that is, every single character Aiden has ever played, and be like, look, all right, these are the traits you gotta pick. Okay, yep, I'm definitely gonna need another beverage. I will be right back. Going to grab another beverage. Well, yeah, I'll be right back though. Be right back. Guess who's back? It's me. Actually, I can leave this door open because the air conditioner's not running. Oh, I went and got an entire bottle of raspberry lemonade. So I'm gonna sip on this. I'm gonna sip on this while I finish the smoke, and hopefully my phone doesn't die. Which battery check 55. We're good. So, yeah, like I said, refer to the triangle when it comes to Aiden's character building. You know, I think you'll find his next character to be quite different from the other ones that you've seen. So I think that'll be a nice change of pace on his part. So, cheers to that. Ooh, that's nice. That's nice. A whole bottle of raspberry lemonade. I would have preferred strawberry, but that's actually not bad. That might be something I put into the buy rotation once things get a bit more stable, once things get a bit more established. Anyway, yeah. So Yes. I understand that point of view. You know. I might have to touch this up just a little bit, but every single character that somebody plays is going to be reminiscent of them in some way. And I mean, take the characters that Aiden has been playing as the examples. They are quite like him in a number of different ways. And that's just that's a pretty common occurrence. If you're going to sometimes a little bit of encouragement to get out of your comfort zone when it comes to your new character is good. And I think Aiden's next character is going to be a little bit out of his comfort zone. Yeah, I think so. Which, for some people I think is, yeah, okay. All right, okay. I think, well, for some people it's harder than others. To kind of, come out of the shell, as it were. For some it's harder than others. For example, it's going to be next to impossible for Wezzy to play a character who's not like him in the way that he is a raging, racist and hater of everything. I joke, of course, somewhat. But my point still stands that, for some people, kind of getting out of that shell and, getting into being or playing someone that you're not is harder. But it's one of those things where not you as the characters, but you as the players kind of, have a conversation about it. Like, hey, so I've noticed that over the course of, these last few things that, yada, 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 such and such, have a back and forth about it. I am going to touch this up, though. Of course, also the general setting of the campaign can contribute to, coming out of that shell, or it can hinder it, depending on the plot. It's just it's a person to person kind of thing, Yeah, because I see a burn issue and I don't want to have a burn issue here, so give me just a second. inside of one of my nostrils itches real bad. There we go. Nice, good old pinch and rub to, to scratch that. But anyway, yeah. The coming out of one's shell to, really be someone that you're not is not exactly the easiest for everybody. And even when someone does come out of their shell, you'll kind of still be able to see, okay, I see the bits that are you, but I also see the bits where you're not you. It's just a matter of kind of encouraging encouraging people to try new things, and for some people trying new things means different things. So if we go back to the Aiden example, Aiden doesn't really like spellcasters. He doesn't like playing spellcasters. Magic is something that he doesn't really jive with. Session arrow. But if today is open, today, well, unfortunately, Wesy, due to the fact that I got called into work, if session were to happen today, I would be unavailable after 10 o'clock. Yeah, so, yeah, yes. Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, you guys could, I could, if things were, if, it was possible to run today, I would have to drop out, which doesn't mean the session would have to stop. It just means like, well, Oz is, gone off to meditate, what do now, hopefully tomorrow I don't have to work. It's an actual day off instead of one that was going to be a day off and then turned out to not be. Yeah. Yeah, I am not, I'm not, I wasn't scheduled today, but now I am. And now, I'm still not scheduled tomorrow, so I'm definitely still game for tomorrow. Oh, there's the AC again. There we go. There we go. I actually matched it this time. But yeah, we got some things to hash out, but we've also still gotta play. We have to play in order to remedy things. So that might what that might end up looking like is, okay, one guy couldn't show up because of a scheduling thing. Okay, we just kind of run without one guy. Obviously not for something like, oh hey, here's this major boss fight, we should probably be at full power. Obviously not for something like that, but if it's just like regular plot progression, side questing, that kind of stuff, we can be down a man or two, I think. And and still go. So that way something is going on, and that'll help with consistency as well, where things don't just completely fall apart if one guy is like, hey, something's come up, I'm not gonna be able to make it, so just playing is going to help more than not playing, but also having discussions is also going to be helpful. Right, yeah, yeah, it, with the different schedules that we have, it's it can be challenging. But I think if we're only down like one man, since there's 5 of us and 1 DM, if we're down just one player, I think just kind of going, okay, we're down one player, things are going to possibly be a little bit more challenging, maybe a lot more challenging, but we should still go. Yeah, that too. Yeah. This has been a good discussion, boys. This has been nice. This has been good. I leaned into the cloud, my eyes. I leaned into the cloud to read chat. Oh, hold on, I'll reread and respond to your comment just a second. My eyes are burning. Oh, hell. Oh, why did I do that? Why am I such an idiot? Oh. Okay. All right. Let me not take a puff. Yes, this is definitely something that came up a lot during YOD, and since then it has mostly been fixed. Mostly. But yeah, I think all of us being a little bit harder stanced on let's not play two characters is going to help a lot with that. Um, so yeah, that's another thing. My eyes still kind of hurt. Ugh. All right, time to take another sip of the lemon, the raspberry lemon. I don't want to squeeze this to her because this is still kind of full. Cheers, boys. That is good stuff. That is real good stuff. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm definitely gonna have to buy some more of this. This is good stuff. I'm also gonna need to rescue my glasses from my mom, so that way I can, pour into a glass instead of just drinking from the bottle. Oh yeah, no, yeah. Oh yeah. Back when I was playing as Azel, yeah, it's like okay, I wanna get somewhere with Azazel, in terms of his personal story, but also in terms of just like the power level. It's like I wanna do this. I can understand that. I think there's gonna be a lot of that with Sin because you're gonna have your base character and then you're also gonna have your ringmaster, and there's gonna be that, which only kind of sort of counts as two characters. I realize we just said, oh, maybe we shouldn't play two characters, but the way that works is kind of it's kind of an exception. It's enough of an exception to where it doesn't really count. Hold on. Nope, I thought I had a burp. Never mind. It's just a little bit of gurgling. It's probably because I'm wearing a belt, and sweatpants, and I tighten the belt a little bit to, kind of just make sure it's not loose on my body. Oh yeah, no, you're right. There's been a lot of humorous back and forth between you two, and it's quite good. And the idea, it's quite good to witness. There it is. It's quite good to witness. But yeah, that definitely, stuff like that definitely needs to be, nurtured, and nurturing becomes an option with opportunity. And considering that, Wezzy is present for this back and forth, I think that there will be opportunity on the I think that there is opportunity, maybe not on the horizon. I think it's actually closer than on the horizon, so that'll be quite good. So yeah, we've had a good little discussion between the three of us. We just need to get the other three kind of where we are in the discussion. I'm gonna loosen this belt a little bit actually. Not that I need it, I'm wearing sweatpants, but I just forgot to take it off when I got back. I was more focused on, eating and getting things charged up enough to where, I wouldn't, my camera wouldn't die mid-session. Or, mid-stream. Hold on. Ooh. Okay. Alright, there we go. Also, there's a lid on the floor. Ah, hell. more stuff to throw into the can, and then I gotta take the trash out. But yeah, ooh, okay, all right, gotta be careful with that. But yeah, I think we'll have some good opportunity. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, good stuff, good stuff. A good time. Definitely a good time. Definitely had some moments that were, humorous to witness. But yeah, I think we'll have some opportunity upcoming, some more recent opportunity, and then there will be lots of opportunity in campaigns after, you know, especially once we figure out scheduling and blah 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 yada yada yada, all that stuff. Once we resolve some of the the real life things that are that are serving as hindrances, then we can really dig into the uh, actual in campaign things that are serving as hindrances. I should shave today, but we'll get there. It's just a matter. This is just a matter of discussion and kind of figuring, kind of getting information onto the table and then working with that information. Ooh, that was acidic. Acid reflux. Oh. So we'll figure it out. We'll get it figured out. We'll get things into a better spot. That reminds me, I have a number of things I need to do today. I need to find my errand list and tend to that. Busy. If I'm not at work, I'm doing other stuff, and if I'm not doing other stuff, I'm at work. And on the off chance I'm not doing either of those things, I'm either staying up way too late playing Warframe, or I'm passed out in my tomb. Oh well. But yeah, we need to discuss. We need to have everybody's thoughts and opinions and whatnot, and also figure out okay, schedule. Ooh, Donner. Still need it. Yeah, I know. I've been thinking about it on and off. Getting a haircut today. Head to bed. Yeah, all right. I'm probably gonna be up for a little bit longer. I gotta play Warframe. That I need to figure out my errands. But yeah, Donna, I've been thinking on and off about getting a haircut today. Since the bank is closed, I'm reserved to the ATM, which is fine. It's just I would prefer to have more options when it came to the actual bills that I'm carrying. But whatever. If it's whatever. I'll get it figured out. I might get a haircut today if I'm up before 5. Because a lot of places, most places like that close at 5. And while I could make the drive to go see my aunt to get a haircut, I don't know if she's in the right sorts to do that. So probably just gonna have to go to a place and get it done. See, this one didn't tar up, but I think it's because I was a little bit slower on the draw. And we only had like one burn issue that I needed to touch. So I think I might suggest that to Aiden, is slower draws. All right, Wezzy, fine. It'll be back to just me and the Donner Donna and I can discuss the fabulous cheesecake that I will be receiving for my service, which I was joking about when I said that, when I, gave you your backpack. But hey, I'm not gonna say no if it actually, if you actually show up with it. I'm not gonna say no. You know, the cheesecake's already been purchased. It's not exactly something that would be pleasant to return. Then again, I guess you could also eat it yourself. Either way, I'm not gonna say no. Oh, 6 more hours of overtime. Let's see, 6 more hours of overtime. 200 and 217 and a half plus, no, it's not 270. Yeah, it's 217 and a half plus, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, 218 and a quarter, 219 and a quarter, 239 and a quarter minus 58. That's like $150. Hell yeah, I'll take that. That'll go right into my pocket. Hell yeah. I love that. But, yeah, okay. Overtime. It's a Monday. It shouldn't be terrible. Oh, wait, it's one of those bullshit fake holidays. It is going to be terrible. Fuck. But it's only 5 hours. 6 hours. It's only 6 hours. Is Honda working today? Because that'll kind of determine how bad things get. That'll kind of help. That'll kind of help determine how bad things are going to get. Donna, is your not real dad working today? Ooh. Ooh, that could be, today could actually be really good. Or really, it's either going to be really good because I don't have to put up with Honda, or it's going to be really bad because they're going to show up anyway. Okay, I think most likely they're not going to show. Well, they're not going, since they're not going to be working. I doubt they're, they might not show. But again, it could be really good because they're not working, and so it's not the most convenient. But it could also be really bad because they show up anyway. Fucking pigs. Yeah, well, I'll just deal. Let's see. Donna, do you remember off the top of my head who my crew is tonight? Am I good or am I going to struggle? Because let's see, I think I know at least one of them. Do you know who I'm working with today? Yes or no? You don't have to actually say who I'm working with. You can text me who I'm working with. Or if not, I can just look it up on the thingy when I get inside and get to my computer. Now that I think about it, I could have had my laptop doing its thing during this whole thing, but I forgot to set it up. Nope. Okay. Well, I'll just look at it on the thingy. It'll be fine. I'll play the part of you. Which means I'm gonna have to harass everybody, which is fine. Honestly, when I took that phone call earlier, throw stuff at people. No, because then they'll make a Facebook post, and I can't. Anyway, shit, I forgot what I was gonna say. Uh, Hold on. What was I thinking just now? Oh hell. Yeah, see, I'm getting a little tired now. Shit, I've completely blanked. I can't even remember. Hold on, so let me think. Play the part of Donna, harass everybody. Yada yada yada. Oh, about the phone call. Thank you. Yeah. No, I could tell. I could tell Miss Fucker was annoyed that, she had to call me and ask me to come in. I wonder what would have happened if I said no. How would that work out? Hmm. I don't know, but I know I'll be awake early enough that if Paul decides that he wants to throw out $100, I'll be right there to bite that hook. Go in and be like, hey, I'm here, Paul. When can I expect my $100? And if he says like, oh, I don't get paid until tomorrow, I'll be like, all right, fine, that's fair. Do you want me to come pick it up, or is it when next we meet? I'll be ready to bite that hook. Hell yeah. Her damn did have to do it. Yeah, I know, but sometimes as I've been saying more and more often, sometimes it's better to ask forgiveness as opposed to permission. And if things get bad enough, forgiveness will come easy. You know, permission never seems to come easy. But I think if things get bad enough, forgiveness would definitely come easy. That being said, fucking Aiden is gonna be so pissed that I said yes to working. And it's like, dude, overtime. This is all overtime. You know. See, I gotta go over to my mom's place today because I'm not gonna shave here because I like to shave outside. So, and since I have a balcony and not a patio, um, I don't want to be inconsiderate to the downstairs neighbor. So I will shave at my mom's place in the backyard, like I do. So that way, not disturbing anybody of consequence. What are the meth heads next door gonna get riled up? Ooh, big whoop. I don't have to listen to their fucking dogs anymore. So whatever. Whatever. And then I gotta get ready for the interview on Tuesday. Get waistcoat. Remember how to tie a tie. Relearn if necessary. Figure out which tie to wear. You know. Yeah. What a day this is good. What a day this is already morphed into, and it's barely begun. I haven't even gone to bed yet. Well, it works out in the end. Alright, I'm only going to take a few more puffs on this because we're at about the inch-and-a-half mark. End things off, play a little Warframe, go to bed, wake up, go to mom's real quick to, grab things, shave, maybe cut my hair depending on what time I actually manage to crawl out of bed. It might be Tuesday right before the interview where where I do that. The haircut at least. The shaving will happen, you know. But what a day this has morphed into. My 3 days off in a row have become 2 days off. Uh, oh. Oh well. As long as I don't have to go in Wednesday and deal with the horrible church people, I'm pretty sure I could survive this with minimal bitching, if any at all. I just need to remind myself this is all overtime. This is all overtime. This is all overtime. And that'll kind of help my mood. Also, as much as I really don't want to, I think I'm gonna need to I think I'm gonna need to start bringing the Aviats with me to work because I think the Raycons are just I think they're just getting real close to done because the right ear is starting to die on me more frequently. Yeah, I had to switch ears more times than I would have liked to. Having two switches over the course of the shift, that's fine. But today it was too many. Wait, hold on. I worked I worked 10 hours today, so I guess a couple more shifts. I guess a couple more switches is fine. I gotta make sure not to hit the stool. But, I think I'm going to have to start bringing the Aviats with me to work. I'm going to have to be real fucking careful with them, though, because those are nice earbuds and I don't want them destroyed by Taco Bell. Ah, well. Ah, well. I'll smoke it down to the inch and just kind of ramble about what comes to mind. So, wait a minute. Overtime isn't taxed. Well, it's not taxed by the Fed. It's not taxed by the Fed, it's taxed by the state. Ooh, that's more than $150. They're probably approaching 200. Yeah, baby. Yeah, that'll be nice. That'll be nice, because, ooh, an extra $200, you know what I could do with that? Ooh, so nice. So good. Wait, I know exactly what to do with it. I know exactly what to do with it. We just, do a little bit of this and that with it, if you know what I'm saying. No, I'm probably gonna end up working for these 3 days, which is, overtime, straight overtime for 2 of them. Woo, baby! 12 hours of overtime. Yeah, baby. Woo! That'll be great. I am kind of excited about it, but at the same time, I really, really just want my days off. So Donna, get better. Get better, Donna. All right? Get better. If I have to fucking, if we think it'll help and I have to come over to your house to fucking, dig my bony fucking knuckles or even my elbow into your fucking muscle to help, deal with the problem, I'll fucking do it if it means I don't have to deal with the horrible church people. You dig? If it comes down to it. Then we'll get to see how much your cats really don't like me, I guess. If it comes down to that, of course. That, and I guess I'll finally, maybe, if it comes to that, I might actually say a word to your sister directly instead of, us speaking to each other through you, Oh, which I realized I forgot to say that. Going to Batesville Hospital here in a few. Yeah, Batesville Hospital is a nice hospital. That's a good choice. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I forgot to say at the stream. Hi, Mindy. Wake up! It's time for school. Anyway, yeah. So hopefully you'll be able to get the issue sorted after your visit to the hospital, and maybe I'll reclaim my 2 remaining days off as opposed to anticipating them being rendered unavailable. Because on Tuesday I really want to do session, and on Tuesday I want to be in attendance for session, and Wednesday I just kind of want to have to myself just to like straight up just play games all day or something to that variety. I have a plasma appointment on Wednesday, so I'll do that and then come back and then play games for the rest of the day. That'll be good. That'll be nice. A way to decompress from how shitty this weekend has been. Today was pretty good, but Thursday and Friday fucking sucked. Saturday I was just tense the whole day because I was expecting a call because of it getting bad enough. But yeah, Wednesday will be a nice just Alright, this one's about done. I'm gonna let it burn out, in here. In the interim, I will be drinking a little bit more of this raspberry lemonade. Yeah, baby. Cheers. Oh, yeah, that's good stuff. Oh, yeah, that's good stuff. But actually, you know what, I think I'll end things off here so I can go plan my day. I have an exciting day ahead. Now, I gotta figure out how to end stream. Oh, it's right here. Alright, well, thank you everybody for, sitting in, listening, talking, discussing, all those things. Hopefully I'll be able to get some screens so that way we can take this inside and we can get back to, the more normal smoking streams. See you later, Donna, and see you later, everybody else. Later.